Hello, you're listening to Politics Uncensored with me, Ali Milani.
And me, Zoe Grunewald.
Coming up on the show, we will be speaking to journalist and documentary maker Ruwaida Amer, who's live from Gaza. After this, we will be seriously analysing Liz Truss as a human being, going all the way to America to make it clear that Britain is broken.
And as always, you can find us at Politics Uncensored UK on social media.
All that and more coming up later in the programme. But first, it's the Week Unwrapped. And for all your Swifties out there, and Zoe, that definitely includes you, there's been some big news. Zoe, what's happening? Because I definitely need to know.
Okay, so Taylor Swift has long-awaited announcement has happened.
And she's a singer.
She's a singer,
joke,
yeah.
I know
You might recognise her from Bridget Phillipson's gaffe about her daughter,
of course,
making her go to the concert.
Yes, she forced her.
Or Keir Starmer secretly getting access with her, and Sadiq Khan blue lighting her through London.
Oh,
She's
nice.
part of the political elite actually here in the UK.
Yes.
No, but seriously, she has announced her 12th studio album called Life of a Showgirl.
Nice.
And she announced it on her boyfriend, Travis Kelce's podcast. I'm going to say something really controversial, okay? I love Taylor Swift so much. I've seen her live 3 times, got all her albums, love her, got a bit, actually, parasocial relationship-y with her. I don't like her boyfriend.
Who is that?
Travis Kelce. I liked when she was dating Matty Healy from the 1975. I thought that suited her far better. There you are. That's my parasocial inappropriate thought of the day.
We're definitely team Matty Healy.
I could get cancelled for that because people hate him, but...
Oh, really? Do they love Travis Kelce? Travis Kelce is an American football player, right?
Yeah, he is, yeah.
I know him. I don't know who Travis is.
He's fine, he's fine.
Yeah.
Can he match her brilliance?
Why does he have a podcast? Why does everyone have a podcast?
We're one to talk.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay,
that's true. This is her 12th studio album.
Right. She did the Eras tour, which was, I think, maybe the highest grossing tour.
That was the one that sold out Wembley, right?
Yes.
A couple of times.
Made her a billionaire, right?
A billionaire?
Unbelievable.
Fucking hell.
She released, during that tour, she released one album, The Tortured Poets Department, and obviously had this one brewing, Life of a Showgirl. And the thing about Taylor Swift, she leaves Easter eggs, so she has all this stuff planned in advance, and she leaves clues for her fan base. The colours, I'm really losing you now, I can see it in your eyes. The colours of this studio album are orange, and she was leaving lots of hints of orange on her Instagram posts and in her show. And there is a lock on the front of her album, and the stage of the Eras tour was shaped like a key. We were always walking into the Life of the Showgirl when we were watching the Eras tour, and we never even knew. Do you think Travis Kelce understands that? No, I don't.
I have... Okay, should we do some rage bait here?
Yeah.
I don't get why she's popular. She's just another pop star.
Cut the show.
She just sounds the same as every other pop star.
No,
she could be Hannah Montana.
Ali,
she could just be Hannah Montana.
Don't piss me off. No, she doesn't.
She does. She just sounds like everyone else.
Right, let's move on.
Like if you AI'd pop star...
Don't...
All right, I won't. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Whose bright idea was to have that?
Let's move on to less controversial territory, and that's crime in London. Tory police leader Matthew Barber has stated that who the hell is Matthew Barber?
It's the Tory police leader.
Why do the Tories have a police leader? Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Did Labour have a police leader, or is that just the Met?
I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, let's move on. Tory police leader Matthew Barber has stated that the public should stand up to shoplifters rather than relying on the police. Figures from last month suggest that there are currently around 3 thefts per minute, costing the economy £1.8 billion a year. So this is in line with Robert Jenrick's vigilantism, and now the Tories are suggesting that the public should stand up to shoplifters. I'm not even joking we're an inch away from people dressed up in costumes.
This isn't
chasing,
right. There's something,
which I'm all for, by the way.
There's something in the water because Richard Tice was also the deputy leader of Reform was also advocating vigilantism on the media rounds this week. He was basically saying that men should go out in their droves and keep women safe. And that's what police should do.
There's been a big thing about keeping women safe recently. Am I exaggerating that?
And you know what? A bad solution to keeping women safe is more men on the street.
Right.
So
you're going to curfew, just a blanket curfew for men.
I think that would keep women safe.
No problem with that. Yeah. Get me home at 9 p.m.
But if we go back to shoplifters, okay. The other day in my local Sainsbury's, I literally watched a man just pour bottles of wine into like an open like sports bag.
What, open them and pour it?
No, he was just like scooping them
like
off the
scooping
shelf.
the bottles.
And the security guards had him, like two of them, or I don't know if they were security guards or if they just worked in Sainsbury's, but they had him like by his arms. And then there was a security guard there as well, just sort of telling him to stop. And this guy just completely ignored them, carried on scooping, like managed to scoop even, and then just ran out of the shop with the bag. Can you imagine if I was like, guys, don't worry, I've got this. Move out the way.
Hang on, let me get changed into my spandex quickly.
I am not going to do this. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, I'm...
Also, that's one thing. The security guards, if I'm them, you don't get paid anywhere near enough for the possibility of getting stabbed or something happening to you as a result of someone scooping wine bottles into a bag. Secondly, if I'm a member of the public, I'm definitely not getting... You can't simultaneously tell me like people are getting stabbed all over London and then tell me to intervene when shoplifters are committing crimes. That's ludicrous.
No, it's true. And also, like, I think we should just put some of this London being the crime hotspot of the UK into context. Actually, London's crime per capita rate, so the number of crimes per person, is lower than Birmingham or Manchester. It's actually, I think it's like 15 of UK cities.
Okay. Can I rant here? Because I am sick to death of this talking down of London that politicians seem to be thinking is okay to get away with. I don't know when we came into a political era where actually talking down the country, talking down its people and talking down its capital city is popular. But again, my mate, Rupert Lowe, has been on this spree of London is a shithole. And that's just not true. Do we have crime? Yes. Is housing a problem in the city? Yes. Are there 1,000,001 problems in the city? But London, to me, is still the greatest city in the world. Like, I've been very lucky enough to be into cities all across the world, from New York to Tokyo, Los Angeles, everything in between. And nothing measures anywhere near London if you look at the diversity of its population, the opportunities its economy gives you, the landscape, the history, the Victorian architecture. Where else are you going to get that? And I'm sorry, if people like Rupert Lowe have a problem, just fuck off out the city and never come back. And we're all happy with that. You want to talk about deportations? Fucking deport Rupert Lowe out of London. I'll be perfectly happy to get behind that campaign.
I agree. And I think Sadiq Khan had this right where he said, London's story is one of resilience, success and optimism, not decline as fearmongers portray. From cleaner air to better transport, vibrant culture and lower crime. And you know what? In some boroughs in London, crime is actually reducing. In Islington, where we're recording?
I think so. Is this Islington? I think it's Islington.
That would make sense because we are part of the
North London Elite.
North London
Correct.
Elite. Yeah. Crime is actually reducing. So take that, Rupert Lowe.
Take that. Do you think he's ever going to reply to me?
No.
Maybe if I was a charity rower in his constituency, he'd confuse me for a migrant in a dinghy and he'd lose his shit.
I think you spend too much time on X because I actually don't even think about Rupert Lowe.
I think about him every day.
I know you do.
Right. Moving on to our next story. I was talking about possibly rowing as a charity rower. And talking about water. David Lammy's failed fishing trip is our next story. He has referred himself to the environmental watchdog after fishing with his best pal, Vice President J.D. Vance. This is an interesting one. He got a lot of criticism because he was pictured with J.D. Vance and this all, like, bro-y best buds. To be honest, do I care? No. Because you kind of expect that, particularly with an American president, an American vice president, and a UK foreign secretary. But apparently, they were not allowed to fish in that particular pond that they were in. So let me read this. The foreign secretary
it was a private lake, Ali.
Yeah.
Put some respect on it.
Yeah. The foreign secretary has written to the Environment Agency over an administrative oversight that meant the appropriate license had not been acquired for fishing on a private lake as part of a diplomatic engagement at Chevening House last week, a foreign spokesperson said. It's the most British thing I've ever heard in my life, by the way, that the foreign secretary, while hosting the vice president of the United States, didn't have the appropriate licenses and so is in trouble.
So which civil servant fucked that up? Because you know there's just one, probably like the most junior one, who just had to apply for the license and either did it wrong, the email got lodged in the outbox, or they sent it to the wrong one, and now they're like, you know, oh my God, J.D. Vance and David Lammy.
Do you know what's crazy?
I
bet you that civil servant gets the sack, but the one who leaked the Afghanistan list, no problem. Carry on.
I don't think any of them are getting the sack.
You don't think?
No.
What about David Lammy himself? He might be in trouble.
What do you think they thought they were going to find in this private lake fishing?
The Epstein list. fishing for the Epstein list.
I just think, like, why would you?
So apparently, I think in his post, David Lammy was talking about how JD Vance was showing him how they fish wherever he's from, right? One of the interesting commentaries that I've seen is, have you seen JD Vance and others have been kind of shitting on Britain the whole time, talking about how, like, no free speech, all this crime. Why are you holidaying here, mate? If Britain is so shit, all right, if we've been overtaken by Islamists and crime and Sadiq Khan and there's no free speech, the fuck you doing here?
I was flicking through the Oxford Mail earlier, as you do when you're part of the North London elite.
Yeah.
And
I only read The Guardian.
And their most read page was that JD Vance had snubbed Jeremy Clarkson because when he was visiting the Cotswolds, he didn't go to Jeremy Clarkson's farm shop. He went to a different farm shop.
Is his farm in the Cotswolds?
Yeah, Diddley Squat. Yeah.
Is that the name of the farm, Diddley Squat?
Yeah.
Right.
You really don't keep up with pop culture, do you?
Well, fuck, not Jeremy Clarkson, I don't do.
And you had the cheek to slag off Taylor Swift earlier.
What do you mean, the AI pop star? What? I'm just rage baiting. I don't actually think she's that bad. My wife would be
next episode, I want a listen along. Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I'll bring you my top 3 Taylor Swift songs. I wonder if I can name any Taylor Swift songs. Eras Tour.
As a politician, you have to be able to say what your favourite Taylor Swift song is.
Can I tell you a story while we're live on air? So when I was a candidate, did you know I stood against Boris? I don't think I've mentioned it on this show before. They asked me what my favourite Beyonce song was at a pub quiz that I was hosting. And I couldn't name a Beyonce song, and I got booed by the crowd.
Good.
And so from then on in, I got people to like write me a list of like pop culture songs and stuff, but it didn't include Taylor
What's your favourite Beyonce song? Ali.
Yvette Cooper is in trouble this week. She's something about protesting. On Sunday, 532 people were arrested at a Palestine Action protest, with over half of the members falling into the retirement age. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper has defended the action, stating that Palestine Action is not a non-violent organisation. A statement that has been released from Huda Amori, Palestine Action's co-founder, has claimed that acts such as spraying red paint should not be classified as terrorism. 532 people is a lot of people to arrest. So it seems like the actual policing of this law, and I'm not quite sure how much we're allowed to say with its prescription into terrorism, but it seems like the policing of this has gotten out of hand.
532 people is a lot of people to arrest. I think it's one of the largest arrests in one day at a protest.
And more have been arrested outside of this. This is just in that one instance, one protest.
But it's even more eye-watering when you consider the fact that we have a overcrowding prisons crisis that is so acute that it almost fell into catastrophic failure 3 times in the last few years. I think the government have backed themselves into a bit of a corner on this one. Yeah. So it is quite possible, I'm just sort of putting it out there, that there is security intelligence that the Home Secretary has received, that there is something about Palestine Action that is putting it on a red list. Whether that be,
she's implied that, hasn't she?
Whether that be the funding,
right?
Whether that be intelligence about something that was planned by a niche part of the group, I don't know.
But you can't make laws with I know things that you don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can't, especially when it comes to freedom of speech, especially when it comes to something like Palestine Action, where the vast majority of people in this country care about what is going on in Palestine, care about what is going on in Gaza. It is so politically stupid, short-sighted to not properly explain and let the public in on that information. And it makes you think, actually, well, maybe there just isn't information, and actually this is a bit of a reach. Spraying red paint on some RAF weaponry is not an act of terrorism. It's disruptive, it's criminal, it's definitely criminal, but terrorism.
And look, like I think I've seen some commentary by some folks, including Owen Jones, who I think tweeted it this week, about the fact that a lot of these Labour MPs, women specifically, were celebrating the suffragettes in Parliament just before we broke for recess. And the commentary has been, well, given the prescription of Palestine Action, you would have also voted in favour of prescribing the suffragettes. Absolutely. In fact, some of the actions that the suffragettes took part in was far more extreme, more violent than
I mean, they were
Palestine
blowing
Action.
up things, right? So
it's interesting that people are always progressive in hindsight. They're always progressive about things that have already happened, right? Whether it's Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, the suffragettes, the civil rights movement, all of these sorts of things, people are always progressive in hindsight, never when it is actually taking place. Well, look, we got lots coming up. Oh, I did your bit there. Sorry.
Yes, we've got lots coming up. We'll be speaking to journalist Ruwaida Amer, who is currently in Gaza, and she'll be giving us an update of what's been happening there this week. And of course, we'll also be heading over to the States to see why people are still giving Liz Truss airtime. That's next on Politics Uncensored.
Welcome back. You're listening to Politics Uncensored with me, Ali Milani.
And me, Zoe Grunewald.
And now we're joined by Ruwaida Amer. She's a teacher, journalist and documentary maker who is currently live from Gaza. So she's speaking to us from Gaza. Ruwaida, assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit about what life is like currently in Gaza for you.
Yeah, walaikum assalam. Thank you so much. I'm now in the south of Gaza Strip. I'm in the west of Khan Yunis city near Mawasi area. Okay, the situation here is very, very, very hard. Okay, there's bombing around us, and the Israel army is not far away from me. No, it's very close. They are very close of my area, so my area is very dangerous. But we don't have another solution. We don't have another place because all the areas in Gaza Strip are very dangerous, pumping around us every time, every moment, hunger, no safety, displacement, every time. I was in the streets last 2 days, so I didn't know where I can go. I didn't find any place to be with my family, especially with my mother. She's very sick. She had the operation in her spinal last month. So the situation here is very hard. No words can describe what we are feeling, what we are living in. So usually I said I'm so proud of myself because I'm still alive with this hard situation, with this hard breath, with this hard actions around me, events around me. I saw the people. I'm seeing the people every time. They are so tired. They are so they don't have hope. They want to stop this war, but there's no good news. There's news about new occupation in Gaza Strip. So I don't know what I can say and what I can describe. Also, we lose our journalists, Anas Sharif and Muhammad Kreki, and a lot of another 4 members of our journalism in Gaza Strip. I want to tell the world that journalists in Gaza are very hero because we are covering the events in Gaza Strip under the bombing, displacement, and hunger, without any energy, without any hope for the world. So we are the eyes of the world in Gaza. The world in Gaza is Strip, but we don't have any safety. We don't have any security. There is no one to protect us in Gaza Strip. We want the international journalists in the world to come to Gaza and complete the work in Gaza and complete the coverage in Gaza, because we are from the displacement of our families, from the hunger, from everything. So we want the international journalists to come together to support us.
Ruwaida, can I ask a situation around food and water? How much food and water do the people have access to? Because we're hearing lots of cases of hunger, of thirst, starvation. Can you give us a sense of how much food and water you have access to?
Ruwaida, can you hear us?
So we're having a little bit of trouble with Ruwaida. She is live from Gaza. So many of you will know that the internet access is very, very difficult, and the signal access is very, very difficult, often getting jammed, if not the infrastructure being destroyed. I think we've lost Ruwaida for the time being. The producers are going to try and fix that. Salam, Ruwaida, can you hear me?
Yes.
Ruwaida, I wanted to ask you about the situation around food and water in Gaza. How much food and water the civilians have access to? Because we're hearing lots of stories about hunger, starvation, thirst. Can you tell us about food and water?
Yeah, okay. I want to tell you about this is simple thing for any human in the world, okay, to get the water, to get to the food. But we are living in Gaza in many so the food was maybe weak. Until now, I want to tell you about the basic time. We get the sample tank, okay, and they said food in Gaza Strip, but no, the people in Gaza can't get them because there is no security, no safety, no police members can protect the aids or the food come to Gaza because there is mafia, there is heat groups attack the trucks and take everything, and the people in Gaza, civilian people in Gaza, can't get the food as they. I'm one of the people in Gaza Strip, so I need to eat like different types of food, but I can't get that. Get meat, you can. We lose them for more than 3 months. Okay. Also, the water is very hard to get water. Okay. You need to wait like more than 1 or 2 hours. Okay. I want to tell you about my personal experience. As I told you, I was in the street last 2 days, but finally I felt it's okay. So I need the people of my gallons. Okay. You have.
Ruwaida, unfortunately, we're struggling to hear you, so I'm just going to hand you back to the producers, and we'll try and see if we can get a more secure line. But I did get a lot of the information there around having to wait hours for water and struggling, particularly with food at the distribution centres. I'm just going to pass you back to the producers.
As you're saying, I think that is a rather difficult line, as to be expected.
Yeah.
And it is, I mean, the sheer bravery of, as she was saying, as a journalist, you know, in that region, trying to draw attention to what's happened, calling on the international press to offer some support when we know that Israel is not only preventing journalists from entering the region, but also attacking them as well. Yeah,
so, I mean, the story this week has been a number of Al Jazeera journalists have been killed. And so all of our information, and this is one of those wars where we have really seen the genocide committed live streamed, but that is almost exclusively, or is exclusively, from Palestinian journalists on the ground, and a record number of journalists have been killed by Israel in Gaza in the last 2 years or so. So I think what Ruwaida is saying there is she wants more attention from the international media on some of these issues. The reality is Israel won't let journalists into the conflict zone. Journalists do often go into conflict zones because it gives them a first-hand account of what's going on. What's also interesting is I think she was talking about the trouble receiving food and water, which we have been covering on this show specifically, given that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, as it's called, is an American-Israeli-run company, which not only hasn't delivered enough aid, but we've also had reports of people being killed and shot, hundreds, if not thousands now, people being shot as they queued, waiting for water and for food. So it's a really precarious situation, as you heard there. And one of the things that's interesting about that interview that we've just had is how difficult that line was. For British Palestinians who have family in Gaza, they will often go days not being able to hear from them because the internet access isn't very good. And as you know, if everywhere is being bombed all the time, can you imagine how distressing it is if you can't get through to your family members because the line is, as we've just heard it, or is even worse. So these are
and as
all
she
things
said,
to consider.
Her mother is very sick. And
Yes.
she can't see her.
Yep.
And, you know, even trying to survive in a war zone with your family around you is impossible. But imagine if any of those familial pressures, an ill relative as well, having to deal with that. I mean, it's an extraordinary amount of bravery. We're very, very grateful that she took the time to speak to us, and we'll try and get her back at a future date when the line is if the line is a bit clearer.
So make sure you follow Ruwaida on Instagram. You can keep up with the work and the stories that she's telling. It's on Ruwaida Amer, so that's RUWAIDAAMER. You can follow her on Instagram, and we wish her all the best, and she stays safe, and the best to her family as well. We will keep you up to date on the stories in Gaza as we have over the last couple of years. All that and more coming up later in the programme.
So before we go to a break, Ali, we should discuss this breaking news. So according to, this is reported in The Independent, the US and Russia are set to say that again. Ali, before we go to a break, I just want to discuss with you this bit of breaking news. This is from The Independent. The US and Russia are set to suggest a West Bank-style occupation of Ukraine as a way of ending the war. And this is according to the London Times. Under the proposed plans, Russia would have both economic and military control of occupied parts of Ukraine, utilising its own governing body, mimicking Israel's control of the Palestinian territory taken from Jordan during the 1967 conflict. This suggestion was put forward during discussions between Donald Trump's envoy, Steve Witkoff, and his Russian counterparts, a source with insight into the US National Security Council told the paper. I mean, where to even begin?
I mean, what's remarkable about this is the occupation of Palestinian land in the West Bank is one of the biggest crises and ongoing diplomatic problems in the world. It hasn't worked there. Why on earth would you want to export that
model
anywhere
I mean, it's not
else,
funny.
let alone Europe?
Yeah.
It's a ludicrous suggestion and actually a capitulation by Trump to Vladimir Putin.
Of course.
Because it is rewarding invasion, it is rewarding occupation, and that is rightfully Ukrainian land and Ukrainian sovereign territory. And so this is the thing that people often forget. People talk about peace, and obviously everybody wants peace. We want wars to end, and we want the Ukraine war to end, obviously, and the war between Ukraine and Russia to end. But you can't just have peace at any cost of justice and the right thing to do and the right of sovereignty of the Ukrainians. And it really does go to Trump's capitulation to Putin and whether he can be trusted to stand up to Putin, because clearly it seems he can't. And even J.D. Vance has today said, we will bring peace to Europe again. Well,
but it's not peace, is it? I mean, it is something that resembles peace because it's the brief quashing of one group, right?
It's also never going to be accepted by the Ukrainians, and what will happen is Trump will present this plan. The Ukrainians will rightly say no, and then you just know Trump is going to go off on Zelensky and the Ukrainians not getting behind peace.
Throwing his toys out the pram, threatening to remove aid, threatening to remove
military support.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we know exactly what Trump's going to do, but once again, I mean, and it is literally repeating the same mistakes, which is why we have this perma-crisis in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, which is that this American imperialism that is, we know what is best for these countries, and what we think is best is if you all just, do what we say and just be quiet, and we as the Americans will bend to our wealthier, more powerful party in this, and whether that is Russia or Israel, you're absolutely right, it's a capitulation. And if there's one thing I think we've all learned over the past 50 years is that America doesn't know best. It doesn't it has messed up so many things. It has messed up Iraq, Afghanistan, Gaza. Now it's going to do the same thing to Ukraine. And I don't see where this leaves Europe in terms of support from the UK? You know, traditionally we've always fallen in line behind Donald Trump.
Sir Keir Starmer has said that he's pledged continued support against ongoing bloodshed in Ukraine. Macron similarly has come out and said that they will continue to support Ukraine. The NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte had said the ball is now in Putin's court following the call with Trump, Zelensky and other European leaders. He said we are uniting in pushing to end this terrible war against Ukraine and achieving just lasting peace. It does seem increasingly like we are at a sort of inflection point between Europe and America, because the post-war status quo, particularly in Western Europe, has been very close ties with America, strong military ties with America, and a security pact and agreement that the allies, as you will, between Western Europe and America will always be there to protect each other. I think we are almost at the point where we can say maybe that doesn't work anymore, particularly under a Donald Trump presidency, who seems to be capitulating to Putin and dancing to Putin's tunes.
I also want to question this suggestion that we often hear from fans of Donald Trump, that he's a very shrewd businessman who always ends up getting what he wants.
The art of the deal.
It seems to me like every time he's in a room, he just does what the last person told him to do. So, you know, one minute he's best mates with Keir Starmer and he loves Keir Starmer and he loves his wife. And then the next minute he's, you know, happy with Zelensky because they had that great meeting at the Pope's funeral when everyone was on, you know, the best behaviour. And then
he also capitulated to Netanyahu, remember?
And then, Netanyahu, because Netanyahu said he was going to nominate him for a peace prize or whatever it was. And now Vladimir Putin. I mean, he goes where the wind blows.
It's that famous thing he's becoming known for in Wall Street now. Taco. Trump always chickens out.
Yeah.
It does seem that
he doesn't ever hold his nerve. He doesn't ever hold the playing cards.
As much as he presents himself as a strong man and a strong negotiator, he does fold quite frequently.
Yeah.
You know, he's a classic schoolyard bully. He's great at picking on the little guy, the defenseless, like the smaller nations, or whether it be migrants with like ICE raids and things like that. He's great at looking tough in those instances. But when it comes to standing up to Netanyahu's illegal war and genocide, or standing up to Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, he's not got much in the tank.
Bends over and takes it.
Yeah, I was going to use a different analogy. I did well to avoid
that.
it.
To me feels like a Trumpian analogy. But you know, I do think it is. I do think a lot of this calls into question the perception of Trump as this kind of, you know, calculated, shrewd businessman. He's just not. And, you know, as if that wasn't obvious from the way he speaks and the word salad and the nonsense and that I'm going to make America great again, but then I'm also going to inflict tariffs on everybody. I'm just going to only increase the burden of pay.
I have also been saying, by the way, there is a conversation we need to have in Europe about our own security in the future. I don't think we are very dependent on America as it pertains to security. That's just true. Because right now, if Putin was to extend his war beyond Ukraine, we would be very reliant on the United States support. And I think there needs to be a conversation across Europe about our own security and how much America can be relied on in the future.
What do you think is gonna come of this summit then? I mean,
well, one of two things is going to happen. I think either he's going to. I haven't seen this West Bank plan yet. This West Bank style plan. I cannot imagine that would ever be agreed to by the Ukrainians. If that is the case, I can certainly see Donald Trump throwing his toys out the pram and having another meltdown with Zelensky, accusing Zelensky of not being the one that, and he will almost frame it as Putin is the one that wants peace and Zelensky is the one who's rejecting it, ignoring all the context and the nuance and the actual substance of what that peace might look like. It is also entirely possible that the pushback that Trump will likely get with this kind of plan from European allies like Macron, like Starmer and others might make him bin it altogether and have to go back to the drawing board and have a second or third meeting and call with Putin. I can see this ultimately ending in some sort of physical summit with Trump and Putin, because he did that with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-il. Is it that one? way back when, and he likes that. I mean, look, one of the things Trump is after is clearly he's after a Nobel Peace Prize, which he's never going to get, because he's got some of his surrogates constantly in the media talking about getting a peace process, all the different peace processes that he's brokered around the world, and I think that sort of physical summit might be something that he thinks would play into that. But I've gone off a bit of tangent.
No. Let me ask you one more question, right? So we know that Putin is a bit of a law unto himself. He doesn't really, he doesn't rely on the US for things. So Trump's influence is pretty limited. But Israel kind of exists as the US lets it, right? It is kind of funded quite a lot by the US. If Trump wanted to, he could put an end to the assault in Gaza, couldn't he?
If there's one foreign nation in the world that could put an end to what's going on in Gaza, yeah, it's America. Look, Israel receives a significant amount of military aid from the United States. It receives a significant amount of military technologies from the United States, and as a significant power broker and almost insurer of them in the region, the support of the United States, it's absolutely paramount to Israel. So if there is one foreign country that could put an end to the assault in Gaza, it definitely is Donald Trump, but he hasn't got the cojones to do it. The
cojones, okay. All right, well, after the break, we're going to go to the US again, but this time we're going to be hearing from Liz Truss, remember her? And wondering why people are still giving her airtime. That'll be up next on Politics Uncensored. So we can keep it. Okay. Yes. There we are.
Have you got the hotkey?
Yeah. Just. Okay. Whenever you're ready, Ali.
You're listening to Politics Uncensored with me, Ali Milani.
And me, Zoe Grunewald.
Right. Britain is in complete turmoil, according to Liz Truss, who went on the Ben Shapiro show to expose Britain's elite. The former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, leader of the Conservative Party, is exposing Britain's elite, apparently. Would you believe it? We actually have a clip from the interview to play for you now.
The views expressed, in the Olympic ceremony are not the views of the average Briton. The problem is we have an elite that hates Britain.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd forgotten how much of a terrible communicator this... How did she ever become
bored,
Prime Minister?
Right? Whenever she's being interviewed, she sounds bored. Look, okay, so basically, Liz Truss did this interview with Ben Shapiro, right? How would you describe Ben Shapiro? He's just like a sort of podcasting...
Alt-right podcaster.
Nut job.
Yeah.
And as we know, Liz Truss has been doing the media circuit since she was thrown out of the right-wing loony media circuit here in the UK. Yeah. She's now taken to the US, where they're slightly more receptive to her. But
yeah, and then once she burns that bridge, she'll be going through the podcasts in El Salvador and Peru.
Yes.
And
Argentina. She loves Javier Milei, doesn't she? But so... What is really interesting is, in this interview, Ben Shapiro had a go at the Olympics, right? He said that...
Wait, the UK Olympics?
Yes,
the 2012 Olympics?
He was slagging off Britain, and he said, what comes to mind here is when Britain hosted the Olympics, and there was an entire display about the NHS, a gigantic display of dancing syringes and such for the National Health Service. This is the country that brought the world the Magna Carta, free speech, parliament. These are all concepts that built the modern world, all of it. And what they chose to celebrate was a giant welfare system that has many women giving birth in hallways. Liz Truss, former Prime Minister of the UK, right? She didn't correct Ben Shapiro's limited recognition of the Olympics, because the Olympics also celebrated lots of other things. She said, yes, the views expressed in the Olympic ceremony are not the views of the average Briton. And you know what, Ali? In 2019, she was quoted in the Sunday Telegraph saying, "We need to revive what I call the Olympics 2012 spirit with a modern, patriotic, enterprising vision of Britain." So, interesting, she's changed her mind about the value of the Olympic ceremony.
Can I have a word with Ben Shapiro? Ben, I know logic, reason, and intelligence aren't things that are in your quiver. But given that you want to have a pop at the NHS and us celebrating the NHS, British people, whether they vote right or left, whether they vote Conservative or the Labour Party, or other parties are available, are very, very proud and supportive of the NHS, a universal healthcare system, largely because of the shit show of healthcare that we see across the pond in America. So if you want to talk about the NHS, why don't you spend a little bit of time on your shitty little podcast talking about the fact that the US spends significantly larger proportions of its GDP on healthcare than we do here in the UK, has a lower life expectancy, despite the high spending, it has lower life expectancy than many other high-income countries, including the United Kingdom. It has a high chronic disease burden, including obesity, which is 2 times higher than the other OECD average, and has higher disparities in health, with poorer populations and racial and ethnic minorities experiencing worse health outcomes and lower life expectancies. No universal coverage in America, higher out-of-pocket expenses on healthcare than any other country in the Western world or the OECD, and limited access by people all across America to vaccines, to healthcare opportunities, to treatments across the country. So, you know what? If we're going to put the NHS up against the American healthcare system, you're damn right I'm going to have dancing syringes in the Olympic ceremonies, because the National Healthcare Service, with all of its ills, with all of its chronic underspending, which, by the way, Liz Truss's government and her party spent 14 years bringing the NHS to its knees, I would still put up the NHS against the American system every day of the week, twice on Sunday. So fuck off, Ben Shapiro.
Well said. Okay, yeah. And
I didn't even have that one lined up, you know.
You listed all those facts from your head, did you?
Straight off my head. For those listening, I did not Google.
He didn't even take a breath. Any sage words for Liz Truss? But the other thing she said, right? She said the views expressed in the Olympic ceremony, which seemed to, bear in mind that it wasn't just the NHS, right? But it also celebrated England's green and pleasant land, William Shakespeare, the Industrial Revolution, Winston Churchill, James Bond and Queen Elizabeth II, right? She said the views expressed in the Olympic ceremony, presumably that those things just existed and are part of the UK's history, are not the views of the elite. The problem is we have an elite, and apparently that elite is Jeremy Corbyn and Keir Starmer. Now, someone should tell Jeremy Corbyn he's part of the elite, because I think he probably would maybe suggest that he isn't, since he was never actually had a shot at being part of the elite.
And wasn't Liz Truss herself Prime Minister?
Yes.
Yes.
And Foreign Secretary,
right,
and Trade Secretary, and all these other things.
She's a great example of failing upwards, isn't it? You don't need to.
Ali,
do you know what it is?
Don't give her that. She's not even failing upwards.
No,
she's trying to fail upwards.
Well, the thing is, I actually think Liz Truss is an advert for Britain. You don't need talent in this country to succeed.
Yeah.
Right, you can do it just based on...
You can just make one memorable speech about sausages.
Yeah.
She also said we've got a lot to learn from Trump, and we get this one. We need a media revolution with Joe Rogan. No, we don't. We need a media revolution away from Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and away from Liz Truss, preferably. She is, look, what is she trying to accomplish by doing all these weird alt-right, like also going to the Republican convention and simping for Trump and et al. It's clearly her premiership, her prime ministerial reign is amongst the top 3 worst in the history of the United Kingdom, I would say. I think.
I don't know, prime
right?
Minister, isn't she?
And so she's clearly on a mission to try and redefine her legacy, because she is a punchline to a joke in history.
I should just say she's the shortest serving modern prime minister.
Right, I'm sure
that makes her sound like she's very short and is still prime minister, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I think she recognizes that she's a historical joke, that 100 years from now, as prime ministers go, she'll just be a pub quiz answer. She has
to blame the elites, right?
Yeah.
She has to blame someone for kicking out. They didn't like her ideas. They didn't like how she crashed, the bond markets, because they didn't understand her genius and they wouldn't let her follow through. There's a really good quote in this Unheard. I don't really read Unheard, but this is quite a funny quote in this Unheard piece about Liz Truss, because even they think she's absolutely bonkers.
What's Unheard?
Unheard is a publication which is, it's a bit
the right wing?
Well, yes, I would say so. Sometimes. Truss is entitled to work the circuits of the right-wing entertainment complex if that's what she wants, but where will it end? It's a distant parallel, but I can't help but think of Harold Davidson, otherwise known as the rector of Stiffkey, an Anglican clergyman who was defrocked in 1932. Following his downfall, he resorted to an increasingly bizarre series of sideshow performances until 5 years later he was mauled by a lion in Skegness.
Brilliant.
So one can only hope. No, I've
got an idea.
I wouldn't do that to the poor lion.
Yeah, leave the lions out. I've got an idea I'm going to pitch you, Zoe, live on air. Let's do something. A special FUBAR Politics Uncensored investigation. I think we can pull it off. I think if we created a fake alt-right podcast with a really fake name, right, something like, Take Back the Streets or something like that. I don't know.
I think that's actually a real name for a violence against women and girls campaign.
Oh, shit.
Maybe not that one.
Let's you think of a name, but an alt-right, we'll do a really nice graphic, and we'll use pseudonyms. I think we can get her on.
Mauled by Lions.
Mauled by Lions. Yes, Mauled by Lions, the podcast.
Yeah.
Hosted by Alistair Miller and Grunewald is too foreign. You're gonna have to go with Zoe Smith. No, we don't want Zoe.
Zoe Gladwell.
Zoe Gladwell. I think she's desperate enough that she'll come on.
Yeah.
And then it'll be kind of
So we just need to say stuff like, defund the welfare state and...
The deep state, the Bank of England is really in charge. Keir Starmer's not in charge.
Fly the Union Jack over every NHS hospital.
Yeah, and Keir Starmer is being controlled by BLM and trans people.
And Palestine Action.
There we go, and I think we can get her
She'll
on.
be like, yes.
The email invite writes itself, and that's a great list. And she'll definitely come on. This is descended. But she does this to us, man. And she did this to our country.
Yeah, she deserves everything she gets.
Yeah.
Mauled by Lions.
Mauled by Lions coming to a podcast
really
platform.
Good podcast
that's a third podcast. You could start Mauled by Lions. All right, that's it.
That's probably it. I think we should stop talking now.
That's it from Liz Truss and from Politics Uncensored today. Join us next Thursday at 5 p.m. where we unwrap the week's political talking points. You can stay up to date with the show by following us at Politics Uncensored UK on social media, where you can find me at Ali Milani Live.
And you can follow me at Zoe Grunewald.
If you've missed any of today's show, you can listen back and catch up on FUBARradio.com or via the FUBAR Radio app.
Download it from your app store now.
Thanks for listening. See you next week for another episode of Politics Uncensored.